Excelsior, my fellow marvelers, and it's time for Breaking Bad. I'm not talking about the iconic TV series about Mr. Heisenberg, which was, of course, a classic in its own right. I'm talking about episode 2 of season 2 of Loki. Time bending is going to happen, and I know that this is going to be a mind bending ride as well. So hop on and let's get started with this episode. The subtitle of which says, with the TVA on the verge of a temporal meltdown, Loki and Mobius will stop at nothing to find Sylvie. All right, our favorite Loki variant, Sylvie, is of course in Oklahoma at the end of season two's episode one, Ouroboros. Ouroboros was, of course, the depiction of a serpent or a dragon eating its own tail, kind of signifying the circularity of time. And I think it also signifies the kind of circular economy and the circular way of living that we are trying to envision for humanity's future. So it has some sort of a very frail connection to the real world as well. But let's dive into the very very weird world of Loki and play around with timelines. Let's see how this episode goes. I am live streaming here as well, and so with this edited version of my live reactions, you can also enjoy my real time live reactions by checking out the live stream recording later, and these lights will be coming on in just a moment. All right, then, are you ready for Loki? All right, with that done, uh, here are the lights as promised. There we go. And away we go. Of course, if Advitya wakes up, I will get her here. Here is Sylvie landing up at a McDonald's in Oklahoma. Okay, so the recap is on, and we are seeing Ravonna Renslayer as well. It seems like she will be making an appearance. And we see from season one how Sylvie had sent Loki back into the future, back to the future, or the past. Time has no meaning whatsoever, or rather, no constraint whatsoever. It does have meaning, it does have significance, because time is the everlasting factor in our lives, isn't it? Here we go, and we are in retro mode. Okay, so we are in 1922 London. 1977, okay, not very All right, so we are in 1977 London, and there is another new subtitle in the timeline depictions on the screen which says Sacred Timeline. So that means we are going to be looking at multiple timelines throughout this series, as has been obvious from the first episode, in which the Ouroboros character, played of course by K Hyun K, uh, sorry if I got that pronunciation wrong. I don't know how to pronounce his Vietnamese name, but he's been awesome, Max, in everything, everywhere, all at once. And you should check out that movie if you haven't. It's another level of thinking about multiple realities and real life in real life. Very nice depictions, and the end gets a little mushy, but that's to be expected in a mother-daughter makeup film, right? Okay, coming back to Loki, 1977 London is where we are at. Loki and Mobius, in their tuxedos, are going to attend the show of Zaniac, which I'm pretty sure is going to be He Who Remains or one of the variants of Kang. So let's see how this goes. All right, all right, all right. So, after what seems like an unnecessarily long chase through the dark alleyways of London around the Opera Theatre where the premiere of the movie is happening, Loki and Mobius, or rather Loki himself, corners the movie star who X5 has been masquerading as in 1977 London. And then there's, of course, the iconic two horns of Loki in kind of a shadow play that Mobius calls over the top. So it's little meta because I too thought it was a little over the top, but I'm already in love with this episode because of its title, Breaking Brad. I can't get over the callback to that Heisenberg, Walter White uh, series. Okay, so now we are into the opening credits, and there's quite a lot of the episode left. There's about 40 minutes left, so we've got a lot of run time to run through. Let's get on with it. And mute. Loki, Mobius, and B-15 get to interrogating Brad, previously known as X5, and he gets under Loki's skin because he's telling him that he's not the hero he thinks himself to be. He's the villain, and he should do that. Loki kind of turns it around and uses it against him, but it's not seemingly working. But interrogations tend to have some sort of side effects which nobody has foreseen, and nobody can foresee what the next timeline change will bring. I'm looking forward to seeing what Sylvie is doing at the McDonald's in Oklahoma in 1982, if I recall correctly, from the first episode of season 2. So let's see where this thread leads us to. I really like how the key lime pie is green, in keeping with the theme of Loki. And they also say that emotions get the better of us sometimes, which is what happened with Mobius when X5 referred to his real place on the timeline. And I think we might be looking back at where Mobius was picked up from and brought into the TVA and made into Mobius M. Mobius. Which reminds me that Raj Kuthrapali's character in The Big Bang Theory has a bone to pick with Stan Lee, because so many of his characters have the same initials, especially Fin, Fang, Foom, and lots of other examples, of course, including the real names of the superheroes as well as the superhero names themselves. Meanwhile, Mr. Kwan, just like Linkin Park song used to say, Mr. Han, is trying to fix the temporal loom, but he's run into a bit of a problem because the temporal data is unstable, and that brings him on to say, "Oh no." Loki is torturing Brad with random things from his time present controller, and it's turning out to be pretty uncomfortable for Brad. That reminds me of that Pulp Fiction quote, check out the big vein on Brad. Although I think that character is called Brett, so Samuel L. Jackson might have just elongated that Brett into a Brad sounding thing. But obviously, this torture is going to work, and yes, it does. So, no sign of Sylvie yet in this episode, but there's still half of it left. So, high hopes there. 20 minutes to go. All right, finally, we are in the branched timeline on which Sylvie is serving at a McDonald's which says over 40 billion served. Now, that reminds me that I saw the movie The Founder about Ray Kroc and how he, well, there's no other way to say it, he swindled the real McDonald's brothers, the real McDs from their copyright and their ideas and everything, and built it into the mega billion franchise that it is. But historical biopics aside, the really interesting thing that I wanted to talk about was how they build the storylines like video games. And I had said this in the first episode as well, that they want to give the hero something, little bits of little bits of culmination, little bits of achievement, so that you feel like you're progressing through the stages of a video game. And what makes me say that in this episode is that once again the temporal loom is under threat of meltdown, unless Casey, the new fanboy of Mr. Kwan Ouroboros, finds a way to get inside the blast doors and access the temporal loom. So we've split into two teams: Loki, Mobius, and X5 slash Brad Wolf. Maybe a take on Brad Pitt, I don't know. And they are going after Sylvie, and X15, sorry, B15, and Casey and Ouroboros are trying to find a way to fix the loom. Sylvie and Loki are back together again and at the TVA. So, after bombing lots of McDonald's trying to kill Sylvie, the rogue leader Dox has been doxed. And I don't mean that in the social media sense, I mean that she has been captured and taken to the time jails of the TVA, the Time Variance Authority. And now Breaking Brad is still not really fitting in with the title, because I don't see how they are going to, manufacture something new that's going to get people insane, drive people insane. But doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's tight, tight, tight. And if you get that reference, then obviously you've seen Breaking Bad, the inspiration for this title, Breaking Brad. So, Breaking Brad was basically just about interrogating the Brad character, the hunter previously known as X5, and getting information from Sylvie out of him, and of course, getting Sylvie back with Loki. So, Sylvie and Loki are back together again, like I said, and Breaking Brad just turned out to be a misdirection, which is what Loki is famous for, because being the god of mischief, he is obviously, uh, you know, been at the game for far longer than most other villains or superheroes. Okay, so no mid-credit scene as far as I can see, and we are through to. Sorry, I'll have to retake that for my editable review later. Good morning from Advitya and Aradhye Ackshat. No mid credits or post credit scene as far as I can see at the end of episode 2 of season 2 of Loki. So let's see if we can recap in wrap in a minute what this episode was all about. Basically, it's about Loki finding Sylvie. They are back together again, like the Ouroboros circle of time. And Ouroboros, played by Mr. Kwan, also has a significant role to play as he will continue to do in this series. Basically, he's acting like the fixer upper of the TVA on the technical side. So he's kind of like the Q of James Bond or Mr. Kwan. That suits him. That didn't occur to me earlier. So he's the Mr. Q of Loki, and Mobius M. Mobius, of course, might be exploring his past life in future episodes. So, the past is history, the future is a mystery. Watch Loki episode 3 of season 2 next week, Fridays, and let's see how the rest of this week goes. Of course, we've got a great sports packed weekend coming up because tonight the Indian football team plays Malaysia at 6:30 p.m. and tomorrow India take on Pakistan in the Cricket World Cup at 2 p.m. So join me for those highlights and live streams as well, and make sure you smash that sub button for awesomax fun. Excelsior to my fellow marvelers, and do share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Good morning from us here in India. Good evening, good afternoon, and good night in case I don't see you before my next video. Thank you so much for watching, and here is a bye bye. Go go pam 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 pam. That's it. And away we go. That's a Rick and Morty shout out, of course. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.